Good day and welcome again to another conversation from Jewish Sacred Aging. We are very, very delighted to, on this installment, welcome Rabbi Sue Levi Elwell to Jewish Sacred Aging to talk about her brand new book, Chapters of the Heart, Jewish Women Sharing the Torah of Our Lives. Welcome, Sue. Nice to see you. Nice to see you again. Rabbi Elwell is a spiritual director, rabbinic coach, and consultant. And I want to thank you for giving of your time to be with us here. Chapters of the Heart, just recently published. Again, the subtitle, Jewish Women Sharing the Torah of Our Lives. You co-authored this with another colleague, Nancy Fuchs Kramer. I think the easiest question to start off with, Sue, is why did you write this book? Who did you write this book for?
I'm delighted to be here, Rabbi Address, and this book, in many ways, is an expression of our two careers, Rabbi Nancy Fuchs Kramer's and mine, in opening Judaism, Torah, and Jewish paths of spirituality to the folks with whom we have the honor of working, and now through our written work, to all who are interested in Judaism. And we wanted to share real stories of real Jewish lives that also tell about our lives through the lens of Torah.
Is this a feminist book? Let me ask you point blank. It says Jewish women sharing the Torah of our lives. Some would say this is a feminist book, or is this really a book that happens to talk about the theological or experiences of people who happen to be Jewish women, but it's really more universal?
If feminism is about honoring women as people, it's absolutely feminist.
Okay.
It's a book for any reader who wants to learn more about Judaism through the lens of daily life experience. What we did was we began with a conversation between us, doing what people do, having a conversation, and what rabbis do, having a conversation about Torah. And we realized that we had a number of friends who also were engaged in the same conversation about how do we really live our lives with integrity and intentionality and celebration through this beautiful gift of Judaism that has been ours.
Are all these essays by rabbis, or do they run the gamut?
We have both rabbis and professors and others, 20 women who contributed, all of whom are deeply knowledgeable about Judaism, but they don't begin with their Judaism. They begin with their lives, which have been saturated by Jewish values. And too often we think of a separation. And what we're presenting here is the integrity of each individual's experience and helping others see, we hope helping the reader see, how our Judaism is part of the way we see the world.
And every one of these essays, and many of the essays, there seems to be a tipping point. It starts with, it's sort of like a conversation, but there seems to be one issue that sort of like shifts the focus and brings the story through the lens of Torah. Am I correct in that assumption?
Our writers speak about a range of life experiences, something as simple as accepting the gift of dishes from a mother-in-law. But then, and this is one of the essays by Rabbi Vanessa Oakes, she talks about how things take on particular meaning in our lives. And the ancient rabbis knew this and were very concerned about particularly women getting too attached to things that might have a powerful value in their lives. And so she uses history to help us understand the power of things in our lives, to help us frame our lives, and to be something that is exchanged between people, that shows connection, love, and the power of our relationships.
Changes in the Heart. In case somebody wants to get a hold of this, you have a website, right?
We do.
And the website is?
www.chaptersoftheheart.com.
And is this also on Amazon?
It is. You can get the book on Amazon. You can get the book through a bookstore. we'd love you to look at our website. We'd love folks to look at our website, which is chaptersoftheheart.com. You'll see photographs of all of the contributors, the 20 contributors, with short biographical information about them. So you'll get to know the women who shared their hearts with us.
It seems to be also in these essays, the theological field is covered. A tremendous amount of theological. I'm thinking specifically of a couple of essays by Dr. Adler and Plaskow. Really brilliant essays, but really who delve into issues of theodicy, good, evil, the impact upon their lives. Talk a little bit about the theological perspectives in these essays.
There's a range of theological perspectives. Nancy Fuchs Kramer's very powerful essay is really about her relationship with her husband and how an argument about which way to travel from Philadelphia to Boston enables her to see how different minds look and at the world, and how any relationship is two very different minds trying to engage with one another to find a path to go forward. The theology there is that we are, of course, both created in God's image, and so that when we're in conversation, we are expanding our understanding of God. Dr. Judith Plaskow writes a fabulous essay about God and evil, which helps us to understand one way of thinking about the natural power of nature. Is this evil? Is this good? Is God judging us? Where does the book of Job come into this conversation? And the final essay in the book, one of the most beautiful for me, is by Rabbi Dr. Tamara Cohen-Eskenazi. And Tamara began her career as a Bible scholar writing an essay about Song of Songs, the beautiful love song of the Bible, and the book of Job, our book of suffering. So she made that connection early on in her career, and then her own life evolved, as all lives do, including some great joy and some great loss. She loved and lost to death 3 husbands. And she writes this magnificent essay called With the Song of Songs in Our Hearts, where she explores how each of her beloved husbands reflected a different aspect of the Song of Songs to her.
There's a beautiful piece by Bobby Brightman who has this line here, and before we have to wind up, I'd love you to comment on this. She talks about tragedy as being a catalyst for spiritual growth. Could you just very briefly just comment on it? Because I found it just a beautiful line.
Dr. Barbara Brightman, who is an extraordinarily beautiful writer and thoughtful person, shared an essay about her life, which is both tragic and very uplifting. She too lost a husband to death. And she writes about how walking through her grief opened a way to spirituality and spiritual growth that she could not have anticipated. And of course, all healing takes many years, but she was accompanied on her journey by her understanding of Jewish spiritual texts. She continued to study and be in conversation with others that enabled her to continue to live her life even in her grief and to grow through that grief with the help of Jewish spiritual practice.
So Rabbi Sue Levi Elwell, spiritual director, rabbinic coach, and consultant, Chapters of the Heart. Very, very quickly, the website again is?
chaptersoftheheart.com.
And can this book would you recommend this as well for like a book group? Is there a study guide that goes along with it?
There's a study guide on the website, and we've had many folks tell us how wonderful this book works for a book group because there are 20 discrete chapters. They can be read one at a time, and our study questions really enable folks to have conversation. This is a book to open conversation about the chapters of each of our hearts.
It's a very, very good way to end this. Thank you very much, Sue. Thank you for being with us again on Jewish Sacred Aging, and we look forward to see you again on another one of our JewishSacredAging.com conversations. Thank you for joining us.